Hi, I'm Greg Schaefer, and welcome to the Virtual CISO Moment. Brent Gallo joins us today. He is the cybersecurity consultant and founder at Hire a Cyber Pro. Brent, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me this morning. It's a beautiful day in Tennessee, isn't it?
Absolutely. So you're actually over in the Knoxville area?
I am. Yep. I'm down in Maryville, so I've learned to say it correctly. So
Marvel, yeah, I
yeah,
know. I moved
here.
to Knoxville down in 1998. I was one of those damn Yankees. I stayed. I moved from Buffalo, and yeah, I when I first came and I said Maryville,
Yep.
and Seaverville, it
Beaverville.
was not good.
No go around here. Yep.
Yeah. So appreciate you coming on. Would love to hear a little bit about your career journey, how you got started in this cyber and why you got started in this IT, information security, cybersecurity wonderland that we call it, and where you're at today.
Awesome, Greg. I just want to say I really liked your intro there. That really pumped me up. Honestly,
All
that was
right.
fun. Um, so my cybersecurity journey, different, just like anybody else's. Honestly, I got started in the Air Force after graduating college. I signed up for a job. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. It just had the word Intel on it,
Hmm.
and had a bonus. And the recruiter didn't know anything, and I jumped in. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice, and I was trying to get into law enforcement at the time, 2013, that year 2014, and all the way back to 2008. We had the recession, and government's budgets got pushed back and everything. So try to get in, but it's a long process. And I was actually familiar with the Air Force beforehand, so jumped in and went to boot camp. Went to Texas for San Angelo. That's where the Intel school is. I was there for 6 months. And then I went to JCAC, the Joint Cyber Analysis course in Pensacola, Florida. That was the hardest and most fun time of my life. We were just like cramming, every 2 weeks for a test, and then we'd be hitting the beach after we passed. So
Well, and I have talking about beach and hot weather. I have to ask you, when you were at Lackland, was it summertime or
it
wintertime?
was summertime, yeah. So in our
Ah.
blues, I had a nice triangle here. We call it the Iron Man tan. 'Cause you're dying under that San
Well,
Antonio
I
sun.
went when I went through. I remember it was June because while I was there, that's when the Tiananmen Square issue happened.
Mm,
So I just about dated myself now. It's been a few
mhm.
years. Anyway, I'm sorry. I digress. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, so went through a lot of tech school. Then I ended up at Fort Gordon, down in Augusta, Georgia. Augusta is known for the Masters, and that's
Hmm.
pretty much it, and the base. Um, I was there for another pretty much 6 years on the job training, and finally got into mission. I worked alongside the National Security Agency, so it's kind of crazy how I went from a job where I didn't know where I was going to be, and hey, I'll end up at a six-letter agency in 6 years, hopefully, to working with a six-letter agency right away. We did foreign intelligence collection, doing all the cool things you can't talk about. But it was a good time. I learned a lot. Got to work both national side missions, which is more like the NSA missions, more intelligence focused, and then the Air Force side missions too. Those missions are more, hey, where are we going to put the bombs on target? Where's the bad guys? Type of things like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so it was good experience. I was there for 4.5 years, but was ready to go. And if you have kind of an intel job, you're only really going to a couple bases. And I wanted to get out of Augusta, and we moved up to the Knoxville, Tennessee area during COVID in 2020. And I thankfully got a job at the Y-12 National Security Complex, where we make uranium for our submarines, our missiles, our aircraft carriers. The only place in the country that does that, and they, definitely need cybersecurity and protection to, keep the bad guys out. There, I started as an ISSO. That's an Information System Security Officer, and pretty much my job is on the authorization side. So any new system that's developed, we have to baseline it. We have to make sure it's secure as much as possible, and mitigate any risk that may be introduced by introducing the new system. Thankfully, I had a great boss who was prior Air Force, retired chief. He totally understood where I was coming from, what my background was, and plugged me in right away. Before getting there, though, I did get my master's degree in cybersecurity. I got my CSSP. Great thing about the Air Force and the military, they do pay for training. I got a SANS course paid for, got my Security Plus, along with a handful of other courses. So I definitely advocate, going through the Air Force. It is, a bit of a sacrifice, but they do take care of you. You get a clearance, and you already have a network established, right? Like if I wanted to work at NSA Georgia and stay in Georgia, I could have had a job lined up, pretty easily. But we like the mountains, so we came to the Smokies.
It's a beautiful place out there. Yeah.
It's good. And then in 2021, I started to hire Cyber Pro kind of as a side hustle, and really just kind of like why not start a consulting business? Why not? I don't have big overhead. People are comfortable talking remotely. I got things cleared through my work, and they were okay with me starting. And then from there, just been networking, been working on more projects, contracting, got some clients of my own, and just kind of snowballed and built and built, and here we are today, Greg. A new connection, a new network, and a new opportunity. So.
And I think you hit you mentioned something about now I just lost through my mind. You were talking about starting the consultancy, and I should have written it down. I'm sorry. Well, I'm glad that you started it. Did you find any issues when you started it, like challenges to
Sure.
help other folks?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot of challenges. Just being from an outside area like Knoxville, Tennessee in general, it's very tight knit community. So I did a ton of networking my first year. I know every MSP owner. I know all the CISOs locally. Just you gotta get around, gotta get your name out there, and that takes time. I did read the book called Just Start. In general, I would definitely recommend reading books for at least 6 months before you start, just so you have a good idea and you make less mistakes as you begin. Um, but just start networking, start building your brand. Those are things you can do before you even get your first customer, because that takes a little while,
Right.
just for people to gain that trust and to know that, oh yeah, this guy does or gal does know what they're talking about and they can help me. But I thankfully I did the Bunker Labs veteran incubator. So it's called Veterans in Residence, and Bunker Labs is pretty big in Nashville. There's what's Mr. Logan, I believe. He's the leader of it over in Nashville. But I had some Air Force veterans here who were connected with it, get me involved. And basically, I learned a lot of marketing skills. I learned some finance skills. Got to learn some social media stuff too. And just talking with people in general, contracting, things like that. So it was a great opportunity. 6-month course. We met every week, came back with our worksheets, and learned a few things here and there. Just more opportunities to get in front of the public, also network, more public speaking opportunities, just a lot of growth in general. Like if I was to talk to you 3 years ago now, I'd be a lot more nervous, and I'm feeling pretty good right now. So it's just like the entrepreneurship is a journey, and you do grow, and no matter how big or small you get, I think it's a great opportunity just to promote yourself, because in your current workplace, you kind of have one role and you're kind of stagnant, or get promoted, and there you're kind of stair stepping. But as an entrepreneur, I feel like you're just like way faster in all those different skill sets that really help you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and will get you further in life.
So from your perspective now, having done the consulting and also your other experience full time, what would you say is one of the most significant threats to cybersecurity or information security for small and mid-sized businesses today?
So good question, Greg. So coming from my my NSA Intel background, really those foreign threats, I'm still quite worried about. As we saw early in the war with Ukraine and Russia, we saw a lot of like destructive malware come out. We saw power plants being attacked, during winter time. And now we're having the FBI tell us about China being in our infrastructure. Personally, I'm just kind of waiting for the lights to go out and be like, well, here we are. And
It might happen. Yeah.
it might happen. And I know we're not physically at war, but I like to say that the cybersecurity, the internet, it is the Wild West. There are no rules. It's hard to trace people. Everybody's attacking everybody. You just don't see it. And it's not there, right? So it's out of sight, out of mind for most folks, and they think, oh, it'll never happen. But I definitely believe it can happen, and unfortunately, we're at a time of heightened readiness and things like that, where it very well could happen. And so I just advocate that folks have good backups, make sure they have layered security, and have a plan, right? That's the biggest thing. If you don't have a plan and something hits you, it takes you 10 times longer to figure out how to respond to it. So for example, once spoke to a company here locally, got ransomware in 2019, and this was a inspector general report. It had to do with some state federal information that was involved. And the first week, everybody is trying to figure out how to respond publicly to this event because it's on the news. Everyone's run around with their heads cut off like chickens, right? And then the ransom wasn't paid and the data was gone, and what did they do next? And 2 months later, they had to fire 50% of their staff because they lost 80% of their business due to that
Oh my gosh.
contract. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you don't have a plan in place, right, things can cascade very quickly, and take longer to recover from. So my biggest thing is be prepared for the unexpected, and it's just like insurance, right? You have it there for when you need it. Cybersecurity, you want to have a plan for when you need it also.
So how can you, though, convince the business leaders of small and mid-sized businesses? Though you mentioned something about the idea that they think that they're not targets, and really when you come, it's like, why would China want to attack me? I am just a 5-person health clinic or doctor's office or something. I
Mhm.
mean, this cybersecurity stuff, I don't need to deal with that. I've got real business problems to deal with. How can you convince, like, maybe not, I mean, not just 5-person shops, but small, mid-sized businesses? I usually say that that's anywhere under like 150 folks or so, but it can vary
Mm.
up and down. How do you convince them, the leadership, that, hey, this is very important for you to keep tabs on, to make those plans, as you said, to keep your business alive?
Yes. So, a good point, right? It is hard to talk people through that. It's kind of like talking about insurance, having that backup plan. But really, it's about talking to them about, well, how much money do you have in your business to, keep you afloat? Is that a week's worth of pay? Is that 2 weeks worth of pay? Is that a month, several months? Because when you don't have a plan, that's what ends up happening. Forensics is there for 3 to 5 days figuring out what happened. All right, you can't touch your systems for another 5 days because you're waiting for new systems to get brought in and configured. So these are all, you go back to the finances. Can you take a hit that costs you a week, 2, 3, 4 weeks? And if you can't, then you really need to have a plan because you need to be back up and running as quickly as possible.
So, in other words, really, one of the ways that you can get some traction here is if you, instead of talking from a cybersecurity technical perspective, lay it out in business terms, because that's the
Exactly.
one thing that businesses do listen to, is like money gained and money lost. So, I think that sometimes, um, in the cybersecurity and information security fields, that particularly in the infosec field where it's more important, that we tend to, not give as much diligence in our own careers and our own preparation for how we manage our career growth. Do you have any suggestions on communication skills, things that people can help to communicate with others, like different courses or different
Definitely,
websites
definitely.
or
I got
anything?
I got you right here.
Oh, good, good.
Gotcha.
We did not plan this question in advance, by the way.
All right. So I know someone suggested to me the Dale Carnegie books. This isn't an ad or anything, but very good, basic stuff to go through. How to win friends and influence people. How to enjoy your life and your job. That's just good life skills. We're going to talk about that later. I'll have questions about that. How to develop self confidence, influence people. How to stop worrying and start living. Another good life habit.
Mm.
And the quick and easy way to effective speaking. So yeah, I think just learn and practice. I know Dale Carnegie, they got they do have courses that are local or like regional. It's like a franchise, I'm pretty sure. And I do got one guy in my network that does those courses. But I think just exposure really, like
Yeah.
for me, I've had the opportunity to work with our local Tennessee Small Business Development Center and do presentations with them. I've gotten out to our local chambers of commerce and done cybersecurity presentations with them, and then also with other individuals, insurance reps, lawyers, to really tag team on, hey, what does cybersecurity look like from all these perspectives. So I think just exposure and just over time helps you become a better speaker and more confident.
And you're seeing Dale Carnegie also
Hmm.
offered in some university programs. I know for Middle Tennessee State University, and I'm on
Hmm.
the advisory board there for the Jones College of Business for the info. I think it's information systems and analytics is what they call it now. And that's one of the things that they implemented a few years ago, which I thought was great. They didn't have it when I went through, but one of
Hmm.
the things that I found that helps with communication too, and I've talked about this a lot on the podcast, is Toastmasters,
Yes.
and really it's you're kind of going towards the same thing. You said life skills, it's soft skills, because we might be really good at understanding technical threats, we might be really good at even risk management, but if we can't communicate them in a way that other folks understand, then it's useless, right?
True. Yeah. Yeah. We do get, excited about the technical side. Do get excited about, oh, I found, said bad guy here, and then he went here and there and there. Like that's important to us. That's exciting. Or if you're a pen tester, all right, well, I hacked into this box and went into this box. But what does the customer care about that? Like, well, he wants to care about, oh, well, we got past your firewall and into your primary C drive and found these files. That's what you want to talk to them about. We found these files in about 30 seconds. Things like that. So yes, you have to speak their language, find out what's important to the customer, and then tie it back to the business.
Now I'm going to go back when you were talking about your career history. You mentioned starting with the Air Force, and folks on the podcast know that I'm prior Air Force as well. Of course, I mentioned that earlier in the podcast. One of the things I like to ask all veterans on here is, what's something that translated well that you learned in the military, not necessarily the technical side, but just like the life skills side, that or the soft skills side, that has helped you in your information security career?
So I think just being adaptable and being able to learn is the biggest thing. So like I said before, I came in with a criminal justice degree. I had I could be on the internet and do email, and then here I am after 6 months of school using Metasploit to hack a box and then pivot through another one to get to another one. Like I think being able to learn and challenge yourself, you can learn anything. You put the effort into it, and you're adaptable. Like for our mission sets while at Georgia, we bounced around a little bit, which gave us good exposure to mission, but we also had to learn how to do new techniques and to complete the mission. So I think just being able to learn and being adaptable is one thing you learn in the military, and you need that all throughout life, right? And especially in
Mhm.
cybersecurity, because we're always trying to stay ahead of the curve. What's the bad guy doing next? There is always that cat and mouse game. So you need to be able to learn and stay relevant, and just be aware of what's going on. Because if you're sitting back for a year or just 2 years, then you got a lot of catching up to do.
Awesome. Well, I know from experience, not only in the cybersecurity realm, but also from being an entrepreneur myself, as that little VCSO thing says, that it can be stressful. It can be stressful being a business owner. It can be stressful trying to find clients. It can be stressful in information security and cybersecurity, whether it's trying to create a security program or it's doing threat hunting, respectively, in those two disciplines. I am very much passionate about making sure that people understand that getting away from the stress is not a neat thing to do. It's a necessary thing to do. You can't be on your best game if you're constantly running at a high level. And even more so now in today's job environment, where the job market is really not that great. It's one of the worst troughs, if you will, that I've seen in my 35 years here in the industry. What's one of the things that you do to get away from all the stress, to decompress, as I like to say?
So I do lots of things. So thankfully, my wife, she loves to schedule trips for us. So we like to go hiking a lot to the national parks. We recently went to the Badlands out in the Dakotas and Custer State Park. That was really cool. When we're not traveling, though, we do have, like you said, before the call here, you have a friend that does beekeeping. We're really into native plants, actually. So I do have lots of bees in my yard, all sorts, because they love all the native plants and all the different types of nectar they get. So if I'm not on the screen, I'm usually in the yard, with my hands dirty. And I do have two young kids though, so I do have a 2-year-old and 5-year-old, so they keep me very busy. And we're always going on walks and with the dog. There's a duck pond we go to all the time, and a couple other parks. Just go out for about an hour and a half or 2 hour like long walk plus park and dog and run around and everything. So I really try to break it up. You have kind of your primary work day, and have some fun in the evenings, dinner time, and everything, and then get back into work because like you said, entrepreneurship, cybersecurity, it's a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I do work a lot, but and I'm working towards my goal, and I'm getting there. So I'm already like about halfway there. So I feel pretty good. So.
Excellent segue into the last question. What are your goals or future plans going forward?
Yeah, so my goal is to continue to build Hire Cyber Pro and really make more connections, just like this. You know, in the business world, you can't do everything yourself. So I do have partners and that I work with. I work with other VCISOs. I work with some MSPs. I just started on the government contracting side this year. Got my veterans certification, small business. So I'm networking a lot on the gov side. Haven't gotten my first government contract yet, but that's a goal for me this year. Just really try to continue to expand my network, get to know people, and continue to help people. Really, cybersecurity, it's a problem that's not going away ever. Anytime soon. It's only getting more complicated, and with AI, it's going to get more complicated also, as we've already seen this year. So just more growth, more networking, and just I don't know. I like the technical side. I like the change, so it's fun for me. More fun.
Yeah, I know that AI can end up being a whole different conversation. It's kind of interesting seeing just how that's progressed over the past year. I mean, I don't know if we were even talking about this as much like 2 years ago. It just really, and all the issues with deep fakes, and I know that the one instance where there were several people in a business call,
Oh,
and
Japan one, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and every single one of them, except for I guess maybe the CFO,
hmm
was fake and lost something like $25 million.
Yeah, which is
So,
crazy. Like, I guess it's the threat of working remotely, but yeah, how do you stop something like that? That's if that person could do that in a meeting, they could probably hack you too, honestly. So it's just it was a little bit more slippery. So,
well, the old traditional person in me would say, see, that's another reason why we should return to the office. But I know that that's a very hot button topic, and I'm not going down that path right now. But there are some benefits to being in an office, and that would be one of them when you're talking face to face.
mhm,
There are ways to be able to figure out how to circumvent, or rather, how to deal with that risk as well too, without being face to
true.
face. So
Multi-factor authentication all the way,
all
all
the
the way.
way. Well, Brent, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you spending time. I know, I mentioned this before we started. Apologies for a little bit of a scheduling snafu. So thank you for
All good.
your grace there, and for taking the time to be with us this morning.
Hey, you too, Greg. You have a great day and a great weekend, sir.
All right, you
Have a good
too,
one.
and everybody, stay secure.